So in this module, we're going to be joined by Nathan Hill. He is a mortgage broker now. He's a relatively new broker. He actually reached out to me a number of years ago when he was thinking about becoming into the career, and he's actually the inspiration, or one of the inspirations, a very strong inspiration for this playbook. Because I realised, having to get to know Nathan, that there was a massive amount of people who needed help getting started and didn't really know what to do. And our conversations over the years and watching him grow has made me get more and more into the space of the new starters for mortgage advisors. And yeah, it'd be fitting, and it would be silly to not have him on here and share his experiences. So he's recently gone fully full time as of May. We're recording this in September, and he's sharing his story about what it's been like, the highs, the lows, and I think it's definitely one to listen to. Now, if you want to speak to Nathan directly, his Instagram, social media is going to be in the description. You'll be able to reach out to him. He's really friendly and he's always happy to chat, so you can reach out to him as well, I'm sure. Let's dive into it. Nathan, mate, we're going to dive straight into the first question. So the first question I've got here is, what made you decide to become a mortgage advisor, and how did you actually get started in that role?
Yeah, so basically, what I just thought, I want to leave the military. So I was in the military for 6 years. I was a Royal Marine, and then I just thought, I don't want to be away from my family. I want to be at home more, and I got a bit of a keen interest in finance during COVID, which I think a lot of people did. And then, yeah, from there, I just sort of fell into mortgages. I looked at the 08, 09 crash. I got quite interested in that, and mortgages was a big part of that. So yeah, at the end of I did one tour in 2023, and then at the end of that, I had about 2.5 months off, and during that time, I just smashed out the qualifications for that, which was CMAP, as you know, and then yeah, just went from there, and that's how I. Then got into the industry, and then after that it was finding about the route, employed, self-employed, and I decided to go for that self-employed route, for various reasons, but basically, planning my own life, living my own life, and wanting to start a family, really. So that was basically the main reason.
Did you look at the employed route at all, or was it purely I'm going to just go? Because the reason why I asked that question is because self-employed, I mean, you were chatting about this off air, there's like self-employed and employed are quite different, and employed has that security, but you don't really build a business. So it'd be interesting to hear why you chose the two, or did you even look at the other one?
No, to be honest, I did do a bit of research around. I spoke to different brokers. I just, searched mortgage brokers near my area, and just luckily got on the phone with a couple of them. A lot of them don't really want to speak to me, but a couple of did. And just like learning stuff about DA, AR, RI, and things like that. And then looking to the employed role, the main thing they said to me was, once you get on that wheel, it's very hard to get off.
Yeah.
And to begin with, it can be difficult being self-employed, but eventually if the long-term goal is to, build that business, build the structure, have your own life and your own, lifestyle to work around, self-employment is the way to go. And that sort of really struck home with me. And they said, with being employed, they're not your clients, they're business and clients, and then looking at LinkedIn, looking at Jobs, looking at, Indeed and things like that, the only ones that were really there were those employed roles, the Connells, the different things like that. So basically that was my reason really to go self-employed.
I love that. No, and how did you, this? How did you? Were you quite confident and comfortable to reach out to those people, those brokers, or did you find that a bit awkward and a bit odd?
It can be, yeah. Use a lot of people just pick up the phone, no, pick up the phone, no, and then yeah, you get through to one or two, and then I actually met up, went for a coffee with one who gave me a good insight and let me chat and let me talk through different things and ask different questions. So that was really good. But then yeah, just making that leap, I think from the start, and luckily I had my time where in the Marines you get a year's notice until you actually move out. So I did have like a year's worth of income to sort of support me whilst, doing the job kind of part time, which was really good. But then, yeah, just trying to find out as much as I can, when I did get qualified and seeing which route I would, go down. But yeah, I thought self-employed was the best way to go, to take that leap, as they say.
I know, it makes complete sense. So how tough did you find that first few months? So when you were, you're doing it and you've become a broker, you've passed your CMAP and all that type of stuff. How was that first few months, and what surprised you most about the job once you were in it? You've done your research and stuff. What surprised you the most about it?
Yeah, so the first couple of months are really tough. You firstly find trying to find a job, a self-employed role. Some some sort of support network to help you find your feet. But then once sort of getting into the role, and then I think we'll come on to talking about CAS, the sort of the CAS process, getting that, through a network or whoever it is you've joined, that can be pretty difficult. And then, with CMAP, it doesn't actually really teach you the actual job, and talking to clients face to face and understanding the questions, the soft skills, active listening, etc. You've just got to be that kind of person, I think, but also just really taking in as much from the clients as you can, and then asking, obviously following that process for asking the right questions and understanding their situation. But yeah, I think as time's gone on, it's been getting past that initial before a call, that butterflies in the stomach, my stomach would sink, oh, I'm going to do it now. And then once the call starts, I actually was fine. But it's before that first couple of calls, you're like, what am I going to say? And then just get into it. And I think learning that way has probably been the best way.
It's definitely a thing with CMAP as well. I find that and not just CMAP, but people who come into this industry, they do the CMAP exam. They think it's more of a financial job. And I think it's not, it's a sales job. I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit about that as we go through this anyway, but it is more of a sales job. It's more of a customer service and sales and human to human job. And the numbers bit is it's important, obviously, but it's no way near as important as I think what many people think, which is an advisor, thinking that it's like an accountant. I think that's what it gets, it's linked to a lot, like an analyst or an accountant. It's really not that type of thing at all. And I think that if you read the CMAP and the FESRAE, which is the new addition to CMAP, you can be easily fooled into thinking that's what the job is. A lot of this stuff, guilts and all that crap. And the reality is, when you say with clients, it's a lot of it is empathy and emotional intelligence and understanding, okay, how this person's I'm literally moving house right now and it's highly stressed environment. How to deal with that is hard. It's not easy. And I think it's something that most people come crashing down to earth pretty quick when they realize that.
Absolutely, yeah. Because you have people coming through to you with a divorce, or just had a kid, or doing that stressful house move, and you're there as that calming voice. And sometimes on the surface, I'll be like that calming voice. Don't worry, I've got you. And underneath it, my legs are flapping as well. It's working out what I'm going to do with it, and actually see how it's going to work out. And I hope it works. But I will do my best. But yeah, I think showing that that calmness and that that steady ship, I think is really important, even if you're behind the scenes flapping yourself.
It's okay to be flapping, mate. It doesn't matter if you are. I think we all flap at some point. Even when making this, I'm flapping, not like this, but I mean I'm making this new course, it's one of those things. So brings me to my third question. So my third question I have for you is where did your first few clients come from? So getting leads is probably one of the most hardest things a lot of the time anyway that people misunderstand. So where did your first few leads come from, and what works best for you that you found finding new ones since? So how the original ones came from where, and then now what kind of things are you doing in order to generate good leads?
Yeah, so the original leads came really from word of mouth, friends, family. I luckily had two friends who are my first clients, my first case, who were buying their first home. And it was one of those kind of vanilla cases where, they had 20% deposit, PAYE, good credit scores. And it was it was finding that was fine. And then, I think I've been given a few leads by the business that I work under, which has been, really helpful. And that's good, a bit of a support network to get you off the ground. But then I've been, following your stuff, and then pushing the social media content, looking to do that pretty much every day. So I'm staying top of mind. And then I'm just getting calls, messages from out the blue, from people from uni, from people from the Marines, people from, way back when, people from, who I met in Australia. And that's been really good to build that. But yeah, I'd say from the original, help from leads that are provided, but then also that friends, family, that kind of word of mouth. So those have been the main thing. And then I've been trying to build this brand leads, through my content, and helping that go through there.
That's a slow burn, isn't it? Anyway, the brand leads, we were chatting about this off air, but it's a tough one. The brand leads, they take a long time, but they do bear fruit eventually. And you said you're starting to get people reach out to you a little bit here and there, going I watched the video and didn't realize I could get a 6-month remortgage and stuff, isn't it? So that it does start to happen. You're seeing that starting to happen now.
Yeah. Because I feel like we're tapping into that military side as
Mm.
well. I've done like a bit of military content on like the forced self-device scheme. Can you use your longer separation allowance on your payslip, etc. And that's been sort of I've done content around that and trying to that funnel that niche into my military bros. But no, it's been good.
So what's been some of the hardest things, the hardest part you'd say of learning the role? So we talk about all of the kind of the good stuff, the tough few months, but you've been in it for, you've been doing it for over a year, but you started in May when you went full time, and we're recording this in September. What's been the hardest bit you would say so far, the toughest, hardest bit? And that could be technology knowledge, it could be sales, it could be confidence, it could be selling insurance, it could be the marketing side, it's the whatever. I'd be interested to know, what do you personally have felt? Do you know what, that specifically was way harder than I thought it was ever going to be, or that I hadn't even thought about it?
Yeah, I think learning lending criteria,
Mm.
learning, all that kind of side, and then placing cases, packaging, etc., and just knowing, right, I've just spoken to these people, I'm going to place it here. I think that's been a challenge. And then I think just getting the phone call saying this has happened, this is wrong, we need to change this now, otherwise something's going to fall through. And then you're like in that
Do you
kind
mean
of
that
high
from the
intensity
lender, or from the who, from the client?
client.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
from
So like
clients. Yeah, I've had a
changing of
few calls.
situations, yeah.
Yeah, and that changing situation, then sort of adapting with that.
Oh,
It's yeah, it's
that
been
first loan adjustment, when you first have to do a loan adjustment for the first time, I remember those. It's hard,
yeah,
like
yeah,
because you're like, everything I've just done, is it going to unravel, or is it going to? Yeah, I know what you mean. It's
yeah,
yeah, I
and,
hadn't
it,
thought
and it's
about that.
kind of
That's a
just
good
like
point.
when you are sort of you're dealing with people's like lives, their hopes,
Yes.
dreams, and aspirations with buying a home or moving or first buy to let, or whatever it is, and that you feel that weight, you feel that
Mm,
responsibility, and then especially starting out in the industry, it's like, oh my god, I feel that weight, but then also like, how am I going to navigate it and what am I
yeah.
doing? So that's been tricky, sort of learning that and understanding those situations. But then the sales side, you know, protection, talking about that in the right way, and protection, making it forefront, and
Yeah.
that can be difficult. It can be really difficult to speak to people about protection because it's not a nice thing to think about. It's not a nice thing to talk about.
Yeah.
But our job as advisors is to talk about that, and that's a really important part of the process. So talking about protection is it it's that's a difficult it can be a difficult subject, so that's been hard
Yeah.
to get the head around as well.
How have you been with doing that? We've actually got Gary Waters, the Protection
I do know
Academy.
Gary. I
So
follow his content.
yeah, so he's
Yeah,
a
he's
client of
great.
mine, and he's going to be one of the he's on here as a bonus material too. But so we've
Mm.
got, so for people who are watching this, if you want help with protection, we're going to check out the bonus one with Gary. But how have you found that yourself? Have you had those conversations? Have you found that tough? Have you, or are you, so like honestly, hand on heart, are you a good insurance person right now, or are you like I'm really struggling with this and I need to get better?
I'm struggling.
Mm,
I've watched that content, and I find with the remortgages it's been hard
yeah,
because like they've either got cover, or they don't really want to talk about it. They just want to think about the mortgage. That's it.
yeah,
But then I think Gary actually he talks about when you first initial talk, you say that my advice comes in two different but equally important parts. You've got the mortgage and the protection, and really merging them two together. I've been trying to use that at the start of the conversations because first I'm just thinking, God, what do I need to say? Compliance, what do I need to say? And I haven't really been, and then I'm like, oh, protection, well, it's come down the list. So it's like
yeah,
trying to hit all these points, and then I need to talk about protection. And I think trying to make it more of a natural conversation, and linking it to the goals and outcomes
yeah,
instead of just like, like you need this, or how you talk about that, but
mm,
linking it really to those goals and those aspirations, because no one comes to you for the mortgage. They think they do, but they don't.
yeah,
They want the house,
yeah.
and without the mortgage they can't get the house, but without the income they can't get the mortgage. So
It's
income
very,
protection is
yeah, I
yeah, it's
love
very,
that.
very important. And watching Gary's content has been great, and I've followed that quite a lot. Using his techniques to talk about it is has been great.
I
So, but
love that.
yes, to answer your question,
It's tough.
insurance has been a struggle. It has been a
And that's
struggle.
not
I'm
a
not
bad
gonna
thing. I
lie.
want you on here to be honest. That's the whole idea, is like
Yeah,
to get a
definitely.
real raw look at what it's like being a new advisor. So we spoke a
Yeah.
bit about CAS. I mean, you mentioned that about CAS before. So talk me through your experience of getting CAS, what that was like. or is like. I mean, you might still be going through it right now. I don't know, but. Shell, we've had Jim Selly from Connect talk about what it's like to get CAS from a network perspective. But it'd be interesting to hear what your experience is like getting CAS from a broker perspective.
So it stands obviously for competent advisor status, and basically when you first join a network or you go under whoever it is, you'll need to get to that competent status. So the network that I was under when we did it, it was 3 case checks, so 3 mortgage, 3 protection. So if you did them together, it's 3, but it's split down like that. And basically it's graded. So you've got green, yellow, red. Your green is your first time pass, or like a first time pass with feedback. Your yellow is like an unclear, you need more explanation, and then a red would obviously be unclear or unsuitable. You don't want to be getting that. But the way that we did it is there was a compliance officer who would check the cases before it was actually submitted to the network, and they basically, the experienced advisor, compliance officer, that would check it off first, and they can sort of give you some pickup points. That process, very, very daunting, very, very difficult, and you're just like, am I doing this right? And I'm like, am I packaging it right? Am I making sure I've got my application summary, then the actual mortgage offer, then the compliance documents? I've got 3 months bank statements, 3 months pay slips, right? Checking off, and you're just like, you're doing all these stuff and things, and then GDPR, I need a GDPR document in there, because then that can go against a tick, and you're just like thinking about all these things. And then I think the anxiety of pressing the submit button to be like, that case is going to be checked. And that is like, oh my God. And then you, for the next week, because it can take a week, because you can see it when you logged onto the portal, right, it's been submitted, it's gone to a case checker, the case checker's checking it, and every day you're trying to refresh, have they checked it, and so that was that week, you're like, what's going to happen, and it comes back. Luckily, it was a first-time pass with feedback, so I'm like, right, okay, so now I understand what I need to be hitting to get that again.
Did you just want to pause on for 1 second with that, just to double click on something you said then? So, I'm now interested to hear your take on this. Is I would get that feeling, and tell me if you do, whenever I ran dips, especially at the beginning. But when you'd run a dip, especially for the first year, but that first couple of months, you'd be like running the dip and be like, you press that button and you think, please don't decline, please don't decline, please don't decline. And if it passed, I'd be like, and I've just been doing my mortgage now for this purchase that I'm going through. And it's funny because that anxiety, I'm doing it myself, I've got a broker, but the broker's was working with me pretty closely, because me being who I am and them being who they are. And we got to the point where we were running the dip and we were going back and forth on WhatsApp, going back and forth for the dip, and I was thinking, and then she was like, all right, I'm just gonna do the dip now, and I was like, that anxiety just came right back of like, oh my God, what if they say no?
Yeah, I know, because it's when that little circle's going loading, buffering, you're like, it gives brokers a little mini heart attack every time
though, as well, I think. And it never went away for me, and it's funny because I had it yesterday. I was like, oh my gosh. And it's just when you were saying that about the case, I know the case check was, but you get a mini version of it every time you do a case.
Every time, or absolutely.
Or insurances is not so much, because you know what's coming up, but with that one, especially when you're like, it should fit, and then they're the ones, it's like, we know it fits, everything's perfect, it should absolutely fly through, and then you're like, please don't be, and then you get that one. I don't know if you've had one of those yet, where it's like, it looks perfect on paper, and then you put it into the lender and it goes, no, declined on dip, and you're like, what?
Oh,
have you had that yet?
Yeah. So I had that actually. It actually worked out, but it was with Nationwide.
Yeah, that's the New Year's normally.
Nationwide have their Helping Hand product.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a 5-year fixed, you can borrow extra multiple of income, and it declined, and I was just like, but a minute later, I went on the live chat. I was like, what's this? It's like, oh no, just press continue, because it declines first, but then when you wait 3 minutes, you go continue, and then it goes and then it updates and it does go green to accept for the 5-year. But then I was like, what? Oh no, I've done it. I'm like, that's it. The world's over. And it can be.
I'm glad that I'm just going to tell funny stuff. So carry on. So you're saying about CAS. So you did the CAS. So how is that? How did that get on? You got you passed with notes on the first one, but since then, how's it been?
Yeah. So then you do, so two more,
Hmm.
mortgage and protection, and you just get a few. There's a few stupid things like missing. One I got a first time passport with feedback because I didn't upload the mortgage offer on the actual
I've all done that.
on the actual portal,
Yeah,
and I was just like, oh my god, literally just the mortgage offer. And it was fine. The case check was like, yeah, first time pass. Just remember next time upload the mortgage offer. And I was like, yeah, obviously.
yeah.
So it's just like, little things like that as like just double checking and making sure
Have you passed
they're
CAS
all.
now? Then are you CAS?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're
So
all done now.
Cass probably a few months ago now, and then it's like, yeah, well done, you're competent, and it's like,
Yeah,
am I?
yeah. I don't know if I feel it. I
Yeah.
don't.
But then
How do you
it's
find
funny
that?
because
Question. Sorry, Nathan. There's a question on that. Is like, because I make a lot of videos about it, but it's been so long since I got CAS. Oof, 8 years, 9 9 years ago, maybe. No, well, my first CAS a lot longer than that. But like give to CAS at any network you go to or anything like that. So I got quite good at CAS in the end, sadly. But how did that feel to you when you passed CMAP? And that's just a question that you pass CMAP, you go and get this job, your first kind of role. It's like your next hurdle is this CAS. How did that feel to you? Because you don't really know about it when you're doing the studying. I don't know if you knew about it before, but it's kind of like it's like this thing of you pass your exams, you're qualified, and it's like, yeah, but you're not quite. You're not quite qualified.
no.
You're not really qualified until you do this extra thing that seems way harder than the actual exam itself. How did you find that kind of from a stress level, or were you like I can do that, it's okay?
Oh yeah, no, really stressful and
Yeah,
really difficult to get your head around. But then also just understanding, like you think, yeah, CMAP, like got it in the bag, right? Let's do this, and then you're just like, it's a whole different level. It's a whole
yeah,
new level of work and really sort of understanding. And I just remember like not really doing a fact find, like not really doing a fact find, and
yeah,
even you do like a 3-day course to get on enrolled for the network, but it was all just like compliance stuff. It
yeah.
wasn't like actual fact finding what the actual job is. And I remember the first fact find I did was the actual assessment. So I had to do an assessment to then start the CAS
Yeah.
phase. So you had to like do a fact find, present an ESIS, and present a quote, a protection quote. No idea, like no idea how to like do a fact find, what questions really to ask, and I failed. I absolutely failed the first the assessment. And she was like, right, the compliance officer was like, right, go away, take an hour, come back. And I was just like, oh my god, right, that's it. Is this for
Yeah.
me? I can't do this. And then I was like, right, take a breath. And that hour was like the worst hour. Just like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to do this again. I need to do this, and that. And yeah, and then came back, did it, passed it, sort of scraped through it again. And then I was like, right, this is actually the job. I need to do this. I need to ask these questions. I know what to ask. And then going from that to then you have your first I don't know if this was the network, but you have your first fact find call with an actual client
Mhm.
monitored by the compliance officer.
Oh wow, so
And
that's quite
that
unique.
yeah, and that was like even worse
That's
because I was
terrifying.
like, still because the compliance officer was on the team's camera off, and then it's you and the client, and they're sitting there and their cameras off, and you have no idea what they're like, and then once you say goodbye after the 45 minutes, hour fact find, which is minimum time you should be
Yeah,
talking,
yeah.
and then when the client goes off, so your heart's just going for that hour,
They turn
the
the
client
camera on, do
goes
they?
off, then the client goes, and then the compliance officer comes on, and it's like, right, okay, let's talk. What do you think? And then you're like, oh my god, how did this go? And luckily that was all right. But yeah, that was terrifying. that first fact find call with someone's there,
Yeah.
watching you, observing
Do you know
you.
what? I do remember that happening. I do remember that actually happened at Connell's, where the boss had the first ever appointment had to be observed. I do remember that now. You're bringing back like PTSD memories of that right now, where I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right. Kerry, her name is Kerry McQuaid, who ended up becoming a really good mortgage broker, and people who know her, she's local to me. She's very, very good. She runs a big business here. We were friendly, but came in and she was like, I remember her being watching in the corner. She was there though. You come in, observe in the room, says face to face, and then she says, "Don't mind me. I'm just sat in the corner." And you're thinking, Oh, this is so awkward.
Ugh. Yeah, yeah.
So
But yeah, but then after that, once you've done that and you get that tick off,
yeah,
then it's like, right, you've passed your fact find phase. You can go away, do all the fact finds you want, and then it's about the three cases. So
then
after
you
that
get there.
initial fact find assessment, then you get your next three cases checked off. Once they're all good, then you've got the CAS,
So
and
what's
then
been
you're
your?
good to
I'm
go.
going to move to just another question with this, which is the more kind of the financial side, because me and you spoke about this off there, but I talk about this a lot in the module, which is how you've managed that first year financially. You know, it's obviously not in numbers or anything, but I mean, like the first year is tough. You know, you've got the fees, you've got commissions. They pay at different times. Things are just all a bit odd in how they work, and there's a delay, and so cash flow is like stop start. So how have you managed that as a new advisor, self-employed specifically? Because employed, obviously, that problem can either go completely depending on how much income you need to, or can be mitigated a little bit. But how have you managed to do that?
Yeah, so I think it's been tough, but
Yeah,
also having that cushion. So I've been like since 2020 getting into finance,
yeah,
reading about stock market, reading about money management. I've always been quite conservative
yeah.
and quite you sort of risk aware. And then I was thought, right, going into this, I knew probably in my last like year and a half, even 2 years in the Marines, I was like, I need to be saving for this year that's going to come up when I go
Yeah.
self-employed. Because I had that kind of thought of like, I know I'm going to go self-employed. I know about the pipeline that you don't get paid till completion. It takes a long time to
Can
build
take
up that
six. It can
pipeline.
take 6 months. Like it's like the average.
Yeah.
As we have another one on here in the bonus material is Johnny Palmer from Convy Law. He runs Convy Law, and he Convy Legal, sorry, and he was saying it's 16. No, was he say 16 weeks? Theirs is 16-week average, but the industry average is like 21 or something like that weeks
Mm,
to complete,
yeah.
and you get paid a month after they complete.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes even longer. Like there'll be a completion, and it'd be like, oh, that completed last month. I should get that at the end of this month, and then when I get
It's like
the
a 6 week
commission through,
carryover or whatever. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and then it'll be like, oh no, that's not come. The lender hasn't done it this week, and it's like, oh, so I'm waiting for that next month, and it's just like, so I
yeah.
think having that financial cushion, I personally, people say 3 to 6 months of your expenses saved up. I personally saved up a year. I was like, I'm going to be extra cautious. I'm going to save up for at least have like my marine salary, which was not very high, but have that for a year. And yeah, I have like I've got a small 2-bed house. I don't have a big mortgage. I don't have massive outgoings. I don't have children. I don't have those big outgoings. I don't have a car on finance, anything like that. So I felt like this is the time to give this a go and try and make this work. Because if I stayed in the Marines, or if I did go employed, to get off that wheel further on down the line, we'd probably have kids. I'd probably have more out, and then it's a bigger leap. So I
It
was
is.
like, now this is the time to do it. This is the time to go.
It's a tough one, and it's a hard decision. Some people will be, and part of this program will be older who are retraining. Some people will be younger. It's a real tough one because it's an income blast. Like it really does knock you to six. And what I would say is, if you go down the employed route, you're very right. Even if you go off the employed route, you go employed and then you go self-employed, you have to do the same thing. You still have to have that barren year. And you might have a little bit more business because you might know more people, but you got to be careful because if you're doing the business with those, they are their clients. They're not your clients, and you can't keep the data. It's all GDPR breaches. There's a lot,
Mm,
but by default, a lot of them won't transfer across.
mm.
Like mortgages is you don't have a big enough impact on people's lives as a mortgage broker for it to be something they want to keep coming back to. They'll be like, oh
Exactly.
yeah, I'll
Yeah.
remember you in 5 years time or 2 years time. They don't. So it's a
Mm,
real tough one. I
yeah.
commend
I
you for
remember.
doing it. Yeah,
Yeah, there was a lady actually who was at Connells who passed CMAT because we were like in this CMAT group together.
yeah.
I think it was one of Charlotte's groups, Charlotte
Oh really?
Hemingway,
Did you
who's
use Charlotte
yeah,
Hemingway for your
yeah,
CMAT?
yeah. She was
Shout out to
fantastic. Yeah,
Charlotte.
yeah.
She's
Yeah, shout out
great.
to Charlotte. Yeah, yeah. I sometimes message her to be fair, see how she's getting on.
She's
But she,
great.
yeah. So we had like a WhatsApp group set up, and there was a lady who passed CMAP the same time as me, and we were like, oh, let's just message each other. Let's see how we're getting on. Like
Yeah.
6 months, a year down the line, she went to Connells. straight after CMAP,
Okay.
I went self-employed, and I remember messaging her like a month ago, and this was so she would have been there like a year, and then I messaged, like, how's it getting on? How what's Connells like? And she was like, gone, I'm out, I've gone self-employed.
Yeah.
It was destroying my soul. I couldn't do it, and I was like, fair one. I was like, fair one. Like, yeah, she was like, yeah, I'm self-employed under a network, and yeah, I'm basically starting from scratch again.
Yeah.
And I was like, mate, that was kind of like
the Connells one's a funny
am I doing
one
the right thing?
The Connells one's a funny one with that for people, because I worked at Connells and I've got a whole video on YouTube talking about my experience at Connells, good and bad. Connells is an interesting one because it's not as soul destroying as people think. It's just hard. So like, it's long hours and it's a very real sales job. And so what I say to people with Connells is if you want to be a really good advisor, a really good broker, and you want to be paid to train, and you have that you're a little bit different with it because of the way you came in through the Marines. But if you're somebody listening, you go, you know what, I don't know the job, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know anything. Connells will teach you that. And 2 years at Connells, and it'll put you will be, if you 2 years at Connells and you actually work, you'll be one of the top skilled advisors when you come into this. You'll have the potential, the material to be one of the top advisors. It's like very much a baptism of fire in those environments. The problem is they are very intense. So you are effectively an estate agent who can do mortgages. You are long hours, expected to sell a lot, expected to close a lot, expected to be quite pushy, and that's fine. But the mistake that people make with Connells, and me and you spoke about this off air again, I think, which I say this a lot. The mistake people make with Connells is if you're going to go use Connells, I think it's a great way to learn if the long-term goal is to go self-employed. But you need to do the fundamental thing that I didn't do this, is self-gen. So you need to treat it like you are self-employed. The ones who did well were the ones who treated Connells like they were self-employed. And so when they walked away, they got loads of leads because it didn't matter, because the skill, the actual calling of the people, generating business was not hard for them, because they were not like shocked about doing it, speaking to people instead of sitting in a room and getting people just coming to speak to you. And that's the issue. And that's the issue with all those all-employed roles, your L&Cs, your Connells, and any employment that's going to give you leads. If you want to go self-employed, you need to learn how to hunt. Because if you don't learn how to hunt, you will. It is the number one hardest thing. You talk about the death beach within this concept. Like, it is the number one thing. It's the biggest seagull that's going to kill that turtle. It just is. Like, you could sell protection, you do all these other things, but if you have no one in front of you, you will struggle, and if not fail. So it's a hard one, and it's not cut for everyone. I think everyone thinks it's easy, and it's like no, it's hard. Like, I mean, at Connells specifically.
Yeah, because I was thinking, like, it's like phone up, phone down, phone up, phone down. I was like, how do you have time to like research cases that actually research like to do
you do and don't. It's not as busy as that. Like, you might be doing like 10 mortgage appointments a week, and then of those 10 mortgage appointments, you'd be expecting 1 in 3 to 1 in 4 to convert. So you might be getting 3, maybe 2 to 3 of those a week, and then in between that time, you are then doing the research. It's not that. It's more the dealing with everything else. The environment is very salesy. So like depending on the case, I mean, you can be in some really busy branches, you'll get loads, but some branches you'll get nothing. But it does teach. The hardest bit is dealing with lots of people who don't really understand you. So like, you're a mortgage advisor. You think about this. You're a mortgage advisor. There's one of you. There's like 5 other people in that branch who are all estate agents. So you're the odd one out always. You're always the other person. You're not part of the team. You're kind of part of the team. You're kind of not. And so it can be quite lonely. It's odd. It's an odd environment, but it can be very good if you want to learn and be paid while you learn. And they'll pay for your exams and stuff. So if you're rubbish like me, they paid for all my exams. But they want their pound of flesh for that. You got a 2-year training contract.
That debt,
yeah. There's a debt on there. So it's an interesting one. So I've got a final question for you for this video, which is, thank you so much for coming on and doing this. Now, my final question for you for this, Nathan, is if you could go back 12 months from now, like you go right back to the 12 months from what's one thing you would have done differently? like, what would one thing that you'd be like, I wish I'd done this or not done this? What's that one thing?
I think maybe reached out to more people. Even, I know we spoke
You
quite a
reached
lot
out to
when I
me
first.
really,
Yeah,
like I
yeah,
said
really
to you, like
early.
you're one of the, to be fair, you're the reason, one of the big reasons, you and Charlotte are the reasons why this program is even being made, because
Right.
you reaching out to me, I spoke to you this before, like you reaching out to me made me aware that there was a whole market of people, a whole group of people who were like training, who were like coming in. I hadn't thought about it. When you were like, I like your stuff, but you were literally in the Marines. You're like, I'm in the Marines. I don't think you weren't even on your 1 year thing at that point. You were like, you
No,
weren't
no,
thinking
no.
about it, like we've spoke for a
Yeah,
long time. So,
yeah.
so you're quite good with that. But Karen, sorry, but I'll just say, like, credit to you on that. And that's why, that is the reason why, because people will, with me and you, I talk to you. I don't talk to anyone else because it's too expensive. You can talk to me by booking a power hour, but other than that, there's too
Yeah.
many of you. But with you, obviously, you were the first one, so I'll always talk to you.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, thank you. It's been, I think going back, even just getting more of an understanding and just reaching out to more people, it's actually how many people talk to you. And if you just message them on Instagram, like a bit of content, comment on their content, and then, maybe slide into their DMs. I know,
Yeah,
like Anish Patel
yeah.
is
You
a
talk to
long-standing
Anish a
client
lot,
of
don't you,
yours.
as well? Yeah,
I talk to Anish, and, people like Dan Knott. I don't know
yeah.
if you know Dan. Dan does
Dan, yeah,
launches.
Dan does.
Yes.
I know Dan not
Yeah,
really well. Yeah,
yeah. So I've like reached out to him, like, oh, like, how you doing? What do you think about this? And
he's a
he's
good
like,
guy.
yeah, and
He's a good one.
they're more than happy. Like, they're more than happy to actually speak to you. And
But Anish
Anish
sent
said
me.
to
I
me,
told you with Anish's one, is he sent me because he
he's like,
does.
who's this guy?
Yeah.
Who's this guy? He keeps messaging me. Like,
He messaged
go
me and he was
away.
like, he said, who's this guy? And I was like, oh no, he's legit. And he was like, okay, cool.
Did he think
And
I
then
was
he
like a
talks,
robot or something?
no,
Yeah.
it's that people message him all the time, and he's always, whenever they message him, he will message me back and message me and go, who's this? And then if I say, oh, I know who they are, he'll go, cool, I'll talk to them. But with you, I remember
Yeah,
that
I
one
know.
coming in, and I was like, oh no, he's really like legit.
Yeah, I like spamming him.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, no, he's been great. So he like voice notes me every now and again. Yeah. So I think just like reaching out, and I think over time, I think it's that time element of I didn't reach out to you the first time and say, Ash, I want something from you,
Yeah.
or like, Anish, I want something from you. It was like, I really enjoy your content. And then, oh, what do you think about this? Like, oh, that was interesting. Like, listening to your podcast, I would like
Yeah.
timestamp it and tell you, like, oh, so is this what you need to do here? And I think that's shown to people that, you're not just like wanting, it's not you're trying to sell me something and I'm trying to buy something from you. It was just like, oh, I really enjoyed this. What do you think about this kind of content? Or
There's a,
like timestamping that.
I'll give you a good feedback on that for people who listen to this. For you specifically, Nathan, is like, so you are one of the biggest people who send me episodes and tell me what you think about it all the time. So you will constantly message me on Instagram and go, great episode, I love this bit or that. You said like that, what you're doing. And it's really interesting because it makes me, I mean, obviously now I know who you are, but it was one of those things that I use that when I'm trying to get attention from people who I want to get attention from. Is I'll go, oh, I love this thing you did this at this time. I loved how you said this, and it's like a random bit. And it makes people remember you. Because then I'm like, oh, this guy actually knows. And you do it really well. And you do it, even now we know each other and we've been speaking for a long time, years at this point. You still, like once a week, will send me a message going, this thing's really cool. This really stuck out to me. Struggling with that thing. And it's not like a question. You're just like, great one. This is really good. And it's really good lesson for people is if you sent that to me, I will know more people. And as in like, and I say that I actually say it on my waiting list video on my website. It says at the end, it's like, join the waiting list. But if you want a little secret cheat code, start trying to talk to me. Message me and tell me what you like. Engage with comments. Comment on my stuff. Share my stuff. The more you do that, the more you're going to be brought to my attention. And this is a really good lesson for anybody. It's if you want to get an employer or a job, and you have done that incredibly well. Like it's making yourself so obviously visible that it would be unreasonable for me to not notice you. And I think that's something that you've done incredibly well. And the fact that you're saying that, I was going to say, don't know if you do that on purpose. That's very good that you do, because it is for new advisors. That, by the way, you can do that to me, but you can do it to estate agents. You can do it to solicitors. You can do it to potential employers. That trait you have there is what you are speaking to Dan, who I know. Dan's a good friend of mine. You got Anish, who's one of my longest clients and a very good friend. You're speaking to some of the best people. I know you speak to me. I know you speak to other people within the space that are some of the best people individually in the space, and they talk to you. And whenever I mention, oh, there's a Marine, everyone's like, I'm my ex-Marine. Everybody who is anybody will message me and go, "Was that Nathan?"
Yeah,
and I'm like, yeah,
yeah, because I mean, yeah, because I was like, I remember you said that. I was like, oh yeah, it was the slow, smooth is fast.
yes,
and that's what because I mentioned that to you. We say in the reads, and you were like, oh yeah. So every time you see that, I was like, oh yeah, that's me. But yeah, I think that was the main thing, just reaching out to people, but not reaching out and straight away asking them for something.
Yeah.
Like wanting to get something from them. It's reaching out and being like, oh, I really enjoyed that piece of content. You know, what did you think of that? You know, love this bit. Or what did you mean by this bit? And timestamp are like 13 minutes into your podcast, it was this, and that and that over time. I think that's what, over time you're like, this guy really annoying me. He's staying it's this at 30 minutes, that at 17, yeah. Because it shows, that you are genuinely interested, you're trying to learn, and that probably would help that relationship. So I think, maybe reaching out to more people and asking even more questions is probably one thing I'd go back a year at a time and do even more.
Just shows you the compounding effect. Definitely. I would say I think I would echo that. I don't think you can speak to enough people. Looking back at it with me,
100%.
That was the mistake I did, was not speak to enough people early on within my podcast, which doesn't exist now because of time, but it will do, I'm sure, again when I have more time. But as you said, once you speak to people, the more people, it just compounds people knowing you, and then gives you support in the industry when you're starting. So because what you don't want to do, I don't know if you do this or not, but I would advise people don't go into the Facebook groups like your Mortgage Pros and stuff and go, how do I do this thing? And that's what one of Anish's pet hates is, like, when you go into those groups, you're signaling to the community you don't know what you're doing. Now, interestingly, it's a funny one with that, because some people, and this is just for advisors, listen to this, some people, yes, you need to be vulnerable, you need to show that they're supportive, but they'll be supportive behind closed doors, but they won't be supportive in public. And so that's one of Anish's big pet hates. He's like, if people come to me, if you went to him and said, I've got this case, where would you place it? He would know straight away and he'd tell you. But he said, when people paste it in the group, I'm like, why did you do that? And it's an interesting thing. I think it's better off building your own support network, which you've done. So, you've done that, and all of those guys would all, and me included, would all be able to tell you where to go and what to do. So I think it's a good one. Anything else you want to add to this, mate, before we wrap it up?
No, that's been great. It's been great to great to have me on, and thank you for that. It's been great to catch up and just sort of share the story. And I hope if people are in a similar situation, hopefully it can help them to be like, it's okay, it is hard, but
if they want to reach out to you,
the same thing.
If they want to reach out to you, where's the best place for them to reach out to you? What's your Instagram?
I'd say at Instagram, at Nathan Hill Mortgages. I talk about, basically, I post every day, stories, etc. But just drop me a message if you need anything or want to just chat through anything. I'm basically a newbie still in this area. So reach out. I'm more than happy to help people.
We'll put your Instagram
more experience of either.
We'll put your Instagram in the link, the description on the video here in the module as well, so you can have that there. But mate, thank you so much for coming on. It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. No, pleasure. Thanks, Ash.